the role of an entrepreneur in terms of developing the economy is invaluable. Entrepreneurship development program is a very, very important program that is going to be done in terms of the development of the economy. Agricultural entrepreneur is quite a difficult and a challenging job, which makes this particular topic even more interesting. Good morning and welcome to the revision session on Entrepreneurship and Small Business Management 6th semester B.B.A, where we are going to see what are all the important questions and the concepts that are going to come in for your examination. So let me start with the 15 markers today. Rather than just going unit-wise and trying to again get into the entire concept of the full theory, what I would like to do here is that I would like to tell you the collective questions that are going to come from the different units, the most important questions that are found from all the chapters put together, which is bound to come in 15 marks, 10 marks and 5 marks. So let me start with the 15 marker, try to explain you the concept as well as the importance of the unit so that we would be able to revise it and you would be able to score good marks in your examination. Starting with the first question on the 15 marker, define the term entrepreneur, explain the role of entrepreneur in the economy, in the economic values altogether. What I'm trying to talk here is from Unit 1, which is a very, very basic fundamental question. In the Unit 1, the first topic itself starts with what is entrepreneurship? Explain the importance of entrepreneurship. So how are we going to write this answer? We are going to first talk about the role of an entrepreneur. So how would you start this question is you would like to go ahead and express yourself the role of an entrepreneur. Define the entrepreneur. Entrepreneur is basically a person who's capable of risk taking. Entrepreneur is a person who's visionary in nature. Entrepreneur is a person who would like to look in for new opportunities in his life. So basically, in this unit, we are trying to look into the meaning, definition and scope of entrepreneurship, the importance of how an entrepreneur is going to play a role in the economy. Now, all of us know here that the Indian economy has been growing at a rapid pace because of the entrepreneurship activity coming into factor. Now, we all know that Government of India has given a great amount of importance to the MSME sector, and they have come up with many schemes that will promote these entrepreneurs to start their business as well as provide employment to hundreds and thousands of people out there. So the role of an entrepreneur in terms of developing an economy is something really credible. So when we look into the development of an entrepreneur in the course of economic development, we see that an entrepreneur plays a very important role by providing employment opportunity, by providing revenue to the government, by taking up new innovations and projects which the government would have felt a little bit difficult to take it up. So these young entrepreneurs will create a new wave or a generation in which you would be able to see better opportunities, better ideas and opinions coming up so that we can grow both in terms of production and services. So definitely the role of an entrepreneur in terms of developing the economy is invaluable. So it's a very, very important task of the country to promote entrepreneurship, take it forward to the next level, and also see that they are giving them the necessary facilities, benefit, training and other activities so that entrepreneurship becomes a mainstream activity of our economy. Followed by what is entrepreneurship development program? This particular topic and question, I have taken it from Unit 2, where we try to talk about the importance of the EDP program. Now, most of us know that entrepreneurship development program is a very, very important program, that is going to be done in terms of the development of the economy. Now, EDP is something where you will be able to see that in an entrepreneurship development activity, that people are being given consistent training programs, they have been given consistent opportunities in terms of making them understand how important it is to get trained at each and every level. Now, the concept of EDP, let's try to understand in detail. It's basically to start creating a regional center or a hub where these young entrepreneurs would be given advice, counseling, and consulting in terms of starting up a new business, the financial need, the need for technology, manpower, and how you are going to take care of your production activities. Now, what happens in this training program is that it's a very, very systematic, well-planned, and a detailed course that the entrepreneurs undergo over a period of time to understand how to run their business successfully. Now, in India, we have a very big institute and a prominent institute known as the EDII, the Entrepreneurship Development Institute of India, which is located in Ahmedabad. And this particular institute is known for its importance in terms of providing valuable training to the entrepreneurs. They have designed many structured curriculums, and each of these courses vary from 1 week, 1 month to 1 year kind of curriculum, so that they are able to train entrepreneurs on a regular manner. Now, when you look at the importance objectives itself, you would be probably able to start this answer, this concept itself, by understanding the need and the push for entrepreneurship. Because when we go through the regular courses, the regular activities in India, most of our academic background training has been able to make us only get an employment, but we have never pushed the importance of entrepreneurship. So the primary objective and importance of this EDP training institutes and the program is to give a push to the entrepreneurship, so that all these people are able to become future entrepreneurs in the long run. Now, moving on, let me take on to the next one in the Unit 3 and Unit 4, where I'm going to talk about the PM Mudra Yojana. From the Unit 3, when we are talking about the financial incentives, the factors, and the various importance in terms of how the schemes have been promoted for entrepreneurship, one of the most important thing is the PM Mudra Yojana, which is being spoken about in great length altogether. So when I go to the Unit 3 and I start looking here, conceptual wise, this particular concept called as Mudra Yojana is a very important topic. Let's try to understand what is a Mudra Yojana and why this scheme has been promoted by the Prime Minister of India itself in terms of making it important for the entrepreneurs. Now, the PM Mudra Yojana was launched way back in 2015 itself by the Honorable Prime Minister of India, and the aim of this program is to provide small-time loan and financial facilities to the young entrepreneurs. Now, there are many entrepreneurs in India who require a small push starting from 50,000 rupees to that of 5 lakh rupees. So what happens here is that when you look typically into this bracket, there are many small institutions which try to come forward to help the people, but unfortunately for these entrepreneurs to get this sort of money from banks or from larger institutions, it becomes difficult. So the PM Mudra Yojana was initiated by the Prime Minister, and it was made a necessary or a compulsory push to all the financial institutions in India that you need to provide help to entrepreneurs who are looking up typically from 50,000 to 5 lakhs. In fact, the scheme covers up to 10 lakh rupees. Now, what is so special about this Yojana is that Up to 3 lakh rupees, you don't have to go on a collateral. Suppose you are going above 3 lakh rupees, you need to provide a collateral. Above 5 lakh rupees, there are several more documentation involved. But most important thing here is that when you're typically looking for a micro industry startup, let's say I just need a 1 lakh rupee capital and startup, I don't need to provide any documentation other than my personal details like PAN card, Aadhaar card, and my bank details all together, where I will be able to just take up a small loan like 50,000 to 1 lakh to start a small tailoring unit, a finishing unit, let's say a tea shop or a boutique shop or any kind of thing, so that I would start building up that business and government would be able to give me necessary financial push at all the times that is needed for me. Now, the second thing is that the PM Mudra scheme is trying to cover almost every single sector of the economy, starting from a small scale cottage industry to that of packaging, handicrafts, or if you're going to talk about, small time restaurants, cafe, and all those kind of things, there is a push that is coming in from the PM Mudra Yojana, and this scheme is available with all the banks across India. So as an entrepreneur, when you go to this place and ask for a PM Mudra Yojana scheme, the banks will be more than happy to help you, provided you are coming under that bracket, you are coming under that scheme, so that you will be able to take it forward and the entrepreneurship activities are continued. So that's why we say this PM Mudra Yojana is a very, very important concept, and it's a landmark achievement that we have been able to do in terms of promoting entrepreneurship. Next one, as we come down in terms of explain the various steps of establishment of a new enterprise, as I move on to unit 4. Now, what I want you to understand, establish here is that this is a generic question first of all. What they have typically done in the syllabus is that they have made us to understand that there's something called as project report writing, where the students are going to take an initiative of writing their own enterprise, building up their own enterprise in the form of a theoretical project report. So keeping that in mind, driving that concept here in terms of various steps involved in starting up a business, this is quite a practical and an easy oriented question. What we have to do here is that you can start with the simplest formation of, when we talk about this activity, it starts with the idea formation, the idea generation step. Then how do you validate your idea? You do a feasibility study. Then you understand the practicalities in terms of manpower, labor, financial factors, and how the production has to be done. Then you do a target sample study, and then you start doing into a pilot or a commercial study altogether. So when you are going to answer this question, this is more of an open-ended question where you can involve all the concepts of entrepreneurship and you will be able to write this particular answer. Followed by, when we are going to go to the 10 markers. Now, I'm again going to go back and forth in terms of unit 1, unit 2, 3 and 4 altogether. So again, I go back for a 10 markers to the unit 1, where I'm going to talk about a very important topic called as the women entrepreneurs in India. Women entrepreneurs and women entrepreneurship is very, very important. Why? Because we have been talking about the need and necessity of women entrepreneurs in a very, very big way. We have been trying to push the women to come in the front line, develop the economy and make it even more feasible for growth. So in that context, women entrepreneurs are becoming the primary centers of growth in our economy. So it is mandatory for all of us to give some importance and thought here. But what are the challenges that are faced? Typically, if you look in India, women always have a pressure from the family as well as from the societal standpoint. The society thinks that women are not equipped themselves in terms of facing the challenges. Women are not ready to take up the roles of leadership. Women are not capable of taking up pressure. Now, when you look at from a family standpoint, they expect women to be more from a home front manager, trying to just take care of cooking and the home activities rather than stepping out of the home. Added to this factor, one of the other challenges is that it becomes very difficult for the women to obtain finance, to obtain the necessary push in terms of starting up a new business. Keeping all this in mind, when Karnataka started up an organization called as Awake, in fact, we are going to see that in our short notes also. Awake was one enterprise that was started way back in 1980s itself, which actually came forward in terms of promoting the women entrepreneurship in Karnataka. It was started by none other than the famous CEO of Biocon, Kiran Majumdar Shah, who herself being one of the leading examples in women entrepreneurship. And today this organization has grown in miles together. They've gone in length and breadth in terms of, helping people how to overcome the challenges of entrepreneurship. So today we see that the government has given a special push to the women entrepreneurship by bringing in a lot of schemes exclusively for the women, helping them in training, helping them in counseling, helping them in setting up a business. In fact, with this example, with this scenario, I would also like to talk about the ICICI venture, which has given a lot of importance for the women in Maharashtra, and they have been capable and successful enough in starting up a tailoring unit, a packaging unit, a home food business unit. So automatically you are able to see that today financial institution, non-governmental organizations are coming forward. They are helping the women entrepreneurs to come up in a big way. In fact, the state of Kerala was one of the primary states which promoted a concept called as SHG, the self-help group, which actually went forward in terms of helping the women entrepreneurs, especially in the plantation area, and they have been able to create a successful women entrepreneurship role there. Followed by the various assistance provided by the State Finance Corporation. We know that there are several banks. Now I'm going back to Unit 3 and Unit 4 here, where we are talking about the State Finance Corporation and the non-banking financial corporations, which have come up with a lot of schemes altogether to help the entrepreneurs. Now let me just give you a very brief idea here. The reason being is that when I look at the state financial corporations, these have been the pillars of support for the entrepreneurs, because normally the entrepreneurs do not get loan from well-established public sector banks or private sector banks. Most of the scenarios are found only in the urban, where you see that the banks are concentrated in providing loans to the leading corporates and MNC. But when you go to the rural India, you always find a challenge in terms of these banks accepting loans for the entrepreneurship roles or for the entrepreneurs. So what happens here is that the state financial corporations and the non-banking financial companies come forward and they provide loans to the entrepreneurs in terms of achieving their dream. So when you see here, the assistance is provided in terms of small scale loans, in terms of restructuring loans, in terms of collection activities, in terms of financial consulting. They also help them to start opening up a savings, a corporate group help in terms of helping their employees. All these factors are being provided by the state financial corporations and the NBFCs. In fact, even the state financial corporations and NBFCs also conduct small level training activities, which actually help the entrepreneurs to understand how to manage their capital expansion, how to manage their capital activities, and how to take it forward in terms of emergencies. So this is a very great help that is being done by the SFCs and the NBFCs. Followed by, we are going to talk about the Unit 2 again, where we are talking about the institutions engaged in EDP program. When I'm talking about it, we already know about an institute called as the EDII. We also know several other institutes like the RUTSET. We also know institutes like KVIC. These are all the primary institutes which are involved in terms of providing the entrepreneurship training. Now, one might ask, so where are this training? How is it happening? They have their website. If you log on to their website, you will come to know what kind of trainings are being provided throughout the calendar year. Secondly, most of these institutions try to tie up with the entrepreneurial networks across India in district-wise, state-wise, and try to understand the need of the entrepreneur, the trend that is going on, and based on that, they design the program. It is not that they just do a generalized program. They understand the need, they understand the gap that has to be filled. Based on that, they go in for the training. Most of these trainings are typically done in the second half of the year, where they try to collect the youth from different districts, from different states. They make a batch-wise program. They make them understand the need for entrepreneurship, and the best part of it is that these institutions also help them during the incubation period of the business. Followed by business ethics responsibility. I'm going to the last unit of the syllabus, where I'm just going to talk about something called as business ethics and social responsibility. Again, if you look here, this particular question, this particular topic in the entire syllabus is a generic topic. I'm not going to go forward and say that this is restricted to a particular unit, but this is an open-ended question which will try to talk about the importance of ethics in doing business. We have several examples to talk about good and bad in India, and especially when it comes to entrepreneurship, we have a lot of examples where we can prove that how Indian businessmen have earned a mark for themselves in the corporate world. And we also have examples where there are a lot of people who are involved in scam, bribery, or illegal practices. Now, we need to look at the positive side rather than the negative side. So starting with the positive side, why is business ethics needed? Because that drives the sense of responsibility into the organization. That drives the need for values in an organization. Tomorrow, when you decide to become an entrepreneur, the most important thing is that you give importance to ethics inside the organization. It is not just about business, but it is about your activities, your operation, your very existence of doing that business in our country. So when we talk about entrepreneur and ethics, they sound to be similar, because unless and until you are ethical in your approach, you are correct in terms of following the rules and guidelines that have been laid down by the government, people will not trust you, people will not be there with you to enable you and grow further. Whenever we talk about examples like the Tata, the Infosys, or the Aditya Birla Group, or even when we talk about groups like the Raymonds or all other kind of multinational companies that we have been talking about, all of these organizations have already set a mark, a benchmark in the corporate world because of the fair and regular practices that they follow in the business. So whenever these examples are quoted, they have become an example because they follow exemplary practices. They ensure that their employees, their organization, their trade activities, their business, and all sort of activities that they follow through have a code, have a conduct that is being practiced, and that's why they have become visionary entrepreneurs, and they stand as a primary example for each and everybody in this world. So tomorrow, as an entrepreneur, when we are talking about business ethics, it becomes a habit, it becomes a mandatory practice for each one of us who intend to become entrepreneur, that we absorb the concept of ethics into our blood, into our organization, and make it a rule for each and every employee who wants to join you and work with you. So definitely, business ethics is the most important concept that one needs to understand when you are into the world of entrepreneurship. Now, moving further, let's talk about those 5-mark questions, which are very, very important. This comes from different parts of the syllabus, but yes, they are a scoring section for you. I would in fact say that the 5 markers are a life-saving section. Even though, suppose you have not performed really well in the 10 markers or 15 markers, by writing 4 questions on the 5 markers, you are bound to get a 20 marks here. So if you can just focus and put in a little bit of objectivity, you will be able to score this 5 marks. So again, let's go back and start from the unit 1 concept wise. What are all the 5 markers that are likely to come for you? Starting with the first unit on the agricultural entrepreneurs, we all know that how difficult it is to be a farmer. Why? Because whenever we talk about farming and agriculture in India, we always know the challenges that they have faced. Though they are the front runners of the economy, the backbone of Indian economy is agriculture. We understand and we accept that, but we also know that how much difficulty that lies ahead in terms of becoming a farmer, starting from land, labor, capital, beneficiaries, facilities, everything is a challenge for a farmer, and added to the top of it, the problems that are created by Mother Nature can also be a very big challenge to them. So keeping all this in mind, an agricultural entrepreneur is quite a difficult and a challenging job, which makes this particular topic even more interesting. So definitely tomorrow, if you want to be an agricultural entrepreneur, you need to overcome all these issues, and then only you will be able to understand the need for agriculture. Followed by the difference between a professional manager and entrepreneur. I would say that this is another generic question that is taken up from unit 1 and 2, where we try to typically talk about the manager versus an entrepreneur. This is a similar and a typical kind of question where you question between manager and a leader. Now, when you write an answer to this, when you understand the concept, managers are people who work for salary. Entrepreneurs are people who give salary to people. Managers are only objective oriented, they are task oriented, whereas entrepreneurs are visionary in nature. Managers are non-risk people, they are risk averse. Entrepreneurs involved in risk and they come up in life. So these are the differences that you typically see between a manager and an entrepreneur. Followed by write a note on project report. This is another generic question from unit 5, where you will be able to write what is the importance of project report. So what is a project report? How we have to design it, starting from the title, starting from the scope, the objectives, the need, what are all the parameters that are involved in building up your organization, what are all the challenges, the feasibility report, your capital expenditure report, a balance sheet that needs to be projected, your turnover, what are all the challenges, what are all the risks that is involved, and what could be the outcome in terms of beneficial to the society as well as to the entrepreneur. So that's what is going to be your project report. Some of the schemes of B.B.A, that's a generic question taken again from unit 3, where you talk about the factors of how the Small Industry Development Bank of India has come up with various schemes to help the entrepreneurs in terms of growth, and the short notes on Awake, SISI and KVIC, again the training institutes of the entrepreneurship, which are available in different parts of India, how they conduct the training program, how effective the training program is, and how they have taken steps to motivate the entrepreneurs and make them even more effective. So you will be able to write about these points in the short notes, and I'm definitely telling you that this particular 5-mark session is definitely for you to score up well. With this, I come to the end of the revision session on entrepreneurship and small business management. I hope and believe that all the information shared through this session will be of a great help and resource to you. In the upcoming sessions, we are going to help you in terms of understanding this Esbm. I hope and believe that you will do well in your examination. All the best and score well in this paper. Thank you once again for joining me today on this wonderful session.